from WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to our holiday edition of Beat the Champ. My name is Paul Peck with Janelle Sabin and Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky. I'm the only one who's not very festive here today, right?
Well, we learned our lesson.
Yeah, you learned your lesson about me from Halloween, but what we do have is a afternoon full of presents for you here on the bowling lanes at Mancuso's Bowling Center in Batavia. We've got a good week of matchups here, some grizzled veterans and our first international bowler.
That's right. We have now reached into Canada, and we have someone come in for their first Beat the Champ show from St. Catharines.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to start off with John Danielewicz and Fred Gravanda. Again, we've had great crowds here, Janelle. They're in the holiday spirit. We've got another local guy in Fred, so I think the crowds are gonna really give us a present today.
Yeah, I think the crowds are gonna be nice and loud, clap nice for us, and maybe we'll get them to sing some Christmas carols too.
And maybe you'll do a little singing for us before this show is over. You will not hear me sing. I cannot inflict that upon Western New York, but what we can promise you is some great bowling. So let's get rolling. Over 70 years of bowling experience in our first match as 66-year-old Fred Gravanda takes on our returning champion, 58-year-old John Danielewicz. It's our first match here, week 3 at the Mancuso Bowling Center here in Batavia, and Danielewicz will start things off. John is coming off a victory over Pat Brick. Over Pat Brick in his last match a week ago. And here we go. First throw for John, and he leaves a cluster of pins there towards the left side. What we saw from John Danielewicz last week, Sue, was steady, solid, doesn't mess around very much, keeps it simple.
Keeps it simple. Yep, and sometimes here the first shot's a little tough because during the introductions and everything, your hand can swell up a little bit, and to get a good turn on it when that first shot can be a little rough. So I'm sure he'll be lining up right after this.
So now we get our first look at Batavia's own Fred Gravanda. As I mentioned, 66 years old. He is retired. Spent a lot of his years bowling right here at the Mancuso Bowling Center. Moved away out of town for a little while, is now back in town and stays busy bowling in a few other places around Western New York, but obviously brings some advantages in knowing the lanes here to this match. And with that said, we welcome in our special guest for this week's show, and we had him on our first show, and we're happy to have Rick Mancuso back, the owner here of the Mancuso Bowling Center. So I assume you and Fred go an awful long way back, Rick, so tell us what we need to know about the festively dressed Fred Gravanda.
I've known Freddie for quite some time. Bowled with him in tournaments. He's been a classic league bowler, a scratch bowler for years. He's got a real tough competitiveness to him, and don't let the age surprise you. He's very youthful and understands the game very well.
And he starts off with a pair of strikes in the first 2 frames here in his matchup with John Danielewicz. So as we watch John here, Rick, what can we expect to see out of Fred? You know him as well as anybody. We've already seen a good start to him.
Yeah, he's a fierce competitor. As we said earlier, he comes with his game face on. He knows how to make adjustments. He's very efficient, and he's forward, right to where he wants to throw the ball, right down and in. And if he can get some action, I think he'll do a great job.
And John Danielewicz answers with a strike here in the second frame. Danielewicz is from Sanborn. Both of these gentlemen are retired, which only means you get to have more time to bowl, right?
Absolutely.
So both of these guys have a lot of time to work on their games, and both of them do bowl a couple of nights a week and keep up on things. So as you can tell here, we're festively decorated here for this Christmas weekend. And what do you got planned here at Mancuso's Bowling Center for the holiday weekend, Rick?
Well, we've got a lot of things going on all the time, a lot of open bowling. Our leagues will continue on right through until Christmas Eve. We'll be closed, obviously, for Christmas Eve. But we have a great time, and it's a great time for family coming back into Batavia. A lot of people come out and have family bowling, during the weekend, which is we're going to be on a weekend here now for Christmas. And
right.
So
kids will be off
it's a great time. Kids are off school, so we get a lot of daytime free bowling throughout that time.
So John Danielewicz finishes off the spare in the third frame, and now we go back to Fred Gravanda, who bowls on Wednesday nights at Transit Lanes and then bowls on Monday nights at the Clarence Bowling Center. 7 Masters titles in 3 different associations for Fred Gravanda, an overall average of 230. And an interesting form here, Sue. Explain a little bit as we watch Fred.
Well, normally there's additional push away, which will give you a more gives you a pendulum swing, creates a lot of your ball speed, and Fred negates that by holding the ball down low like that, and just having a small push to the front. So, although he seems to be very consistent, you can do whatever you want as long as you're consistent at it. I think this complicates things just a little bit. And you spoke to the advantages and disadvantages of this.
Yeah.
So,
the advantages of it is because it keeps you online, and I think that you can really maintain a good position in terms of what board you want to hit, where you want to be at. But I do think that you've got to be consistent with, how far you push away in order to get that same arm speed. Freddie's been doing this for quite some time, so he is proficient at it. So if anybody can carry that through, he has, and he's got a 230 average in his league, so I think he's a pretty good bowler.
yeah.
You got to look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, manned as always by Janelle Sabin. We're right here in Castellone territory here in Batavia. And after the open frame, after the missed spare in the third, Fred comes right back with his third strike.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Hi everybody, I'm Janelle Sabin. This is my mom, Kathy. Kathy, what do you want for Christmas this year? World peace. No. Just happiness for everyone to get along, and a better world, health, happiness for everybody.
Oh, isn't that nice?
All right, thanks, Mom. You're welcome. All right, Debbie, what would you like for Christmas this year?
Oh, I'm clueless.
Some diamond earrings.
No, I've got those. For Fred to win this.
Okay, for Fred to win? All right, that's a good wish.
I want everybody to be healthy and happy.
That's a good wish. What about you?
A peace on earth and a new bowling ball for me.
All right. I like it.
We could just keep the camera on Fred, not show the pins, and you'll know exactly how things went.
No doubt.
John Danielewicz has his daughter Brandy here cheering him on. Now, if you were with us in the last show, we read the bio wrong, and we thought that Brandy and John skydive together until we were corrected by John, who said, no, I might drive a little fast, but I don't jump out of any planes. But his daughter Brandy is a skydiver, and maybe she's going to try to convince Dad to come along with her at some point. But they are fishing buddies, but not necessarily skydiving buddies yet.
Yeah, yet.
Yet. And you know what else is interesting about this match between these two guys? As we tape this show, these two will bowl against each other this very night in the senior league that they bowl at Transit Lanes. So I think maybe there might be some drinks on the line with whoever wins this match. And again, that's just another cool part about bowling in Western New York, is that you get to know people, you travel in the same circles, and here these two guys are, by the luck of the draw, matching up on TV here on Beat the Champ, and then they'll go right back to their regular routine, which is their Wednesday night league where they're going to go up against each other.
A gentleman from Batavia, a gentleman from Sanborn, bowling each other in Amherst, and then driving back to Batavia and back to Sanborn, and bowling each other twice, once in Batavia, once in Amherst. You do get around as bowlers.
Oh, no doubt. It's a great camaraderie of the whole industry. These guys travel one another. They watch each other's kids grow up together. And,
yes. Paul and I were just at the Hall of Fame dinner last week, and when I walked into the room, it's like old homes day for bowlers.
That's
so many
nice.
people you haven't seen in a while, all getting together for that event.
And another big strike for Fred Gravanda. That is 4 in a row for him. And some of that home house knowledge is starting to pay off for Fred.
Yep, so he's closed the gap to within 12 pins now. And with the strike up, that will even get closer.
Don't forget, at the end of our show, right towards the end of our final match, we'll have our Modern Windows Word of the Week. You can win $5,000 worth of new windows, complete with installation from Modern Window. So Fred's got to keep striking here, is what you're telling me. And guess what? It's exactly what he's doing.
What a great shot.
Five in a row.
Right now.
Yeah, 5 in a row, and he is in a groove right now. But will it be enough?
Well, as usual on Beat the Champ, it's going to come down to the 10th frame. And these two guys have put on a great show.
That's how we like it. We like it when it comes down to it. Keeps people on the edge of their seats, including us. Second ball on the 10th frame.
Wow.
Another strike.
Somehow you knew by looking at him he wasn't going to go away easy. What a great second half.
6 in a row.
Well, he's been right in the pocket every shot. I got tapped on one when he came back and left the 6.
Right.
Let's see if he can do the ultimate punch out here, which is end on 7 consecutive strikes. There you go. Fred Gravanda ends on 7 strikes and puts up an awesome 247 on the board here. And now John Danielewicz has got his work cut out for him.
So the importance of striking on that fill ball is keeping the count up because their match is so close. John needs to double, but then he'll still need good count on his fill ball.
8 to tie.
8 to tie, 9 to win.
Okay, so 2 strikes and 8
To tie.
to tie, 9 to win for John Danielewicz.
We got that one inside of his target.
And that's not going to make it happen. The 4-7-10 split left for John Danielewicz, exactly what he couldn't afford to have happen. Let's see what he can't come up with here, but it looks like we're going to get a victory for Fred Gravanda. And that's a bit of a disappointing way for John Danielewicz to end it with a 224. So it's a 247 to 224 win and ultimate inconsistency for Fred Gravanda. And did you take some credit for teaching him everything he knows there, Rick?
Absolutely. Freddie taught me. I didn't teach him anything.
All right, well, we'll give the credit to Fred. We'll see how that's going to work because Fred's coming back for another match against the first Canadian bowler that we've ever had here on Beat the Champ. In the meantime, we'll talk to John Danielewicz about his nice little run. That's when we come back to Batavia, New York. It is Beat the Champ on the road in Genesee County. We are back right after this. Well, this one comes right down to the 10th frame before Fred Gravanda beats John Danielewicz 247 to 224. Tough throws like that one in the 10th frame might make you want to start taking up skydiving with your daughter.
No, I stick to bowling.
What happened on that one in the 10th? You had a chance to close him out and win there, and it just didn't go your way.
I tugged it a little bit, and plus they broke down just a little bit. I should have been moving to the left, and I didn't do it.
Right. Well, you get a chance at some revenge a little later on in the day against Fred, right? I know you're going to try to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, but it was good to have you on the show. Good to see you win last week. We'll see more out of John Danielewicz, and we're definitely going to see more out of Fred Gravanda. He's in our next match when we return to the Mancuso Bowling Center here in Batavia. You're watching Beat the Champ.
I'm with Fred Gravanda from Batavia, making his hometown appearance on Beat the Champ. What are you expecting to see your first show?
I'm going to go out and make good shots. I'm hoping to win. We'll see what happens.
Is this your home house here? Do you bowl league here?
No, I do not bowl league here. I bowl up at Transit Lanes.
I'm with Paul Tatone our first international bowler. Tell us where you're from.
St. Catharines, Ontario.
And you've heard of Beat the Champ how?
Through friends, actually.
And you've made your first show. Is this your first attempt at making Beat the Champ?
Yes, it is.
And your Christmas wish is for?
To win.
That's what I would have thought. Well, good luck to you. And welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Yes, we're in the Christmas spirit here. It's not quite an elf on a shelf, it's an elf on the Castellone scoreboard. And we're ready to go international for the first time here on Beat the Champ, because while you look at Fred Gravanda, who's going to start off our second match, the gentleman he is going to go up against, and we'll talk more about him in a moment, is Paul Tatone from St. Catharines, Ontario, our first international Canadian bowler.
I know, that's so neat. Beat the Champ goes international.
Yeah, you bet. How about that, huh? So here's Fred Gravanda coming off the very impressive 247 to 224 win over John Danielewicz. First throw for Fred in match number 2 of the day here at the Mancuso Bowling Center. And much like it ended before with 7 straight strikes, Fred's streak is up to 8. And here's our first look at Paul Tatone, 32 years old, from St. Catharines. Made the trip in for qualifying and has made the trip here to Batavia to be a part of this show. Qualifying score of 670 got him into the 8th qualifying spot. And a much different style of bowling going on between our two guys, isn't it? So,
yeah, Paul has a lot of rotation, as you can see when that ball comes off his hand. In this case, he got it left of his target. Not really what he's looking at, but that was his first. You know, we've seen a lot with the bowlers on their first time.
Yeah, well,
got to get used to those lights and cameras in action.
The exceptions to that have been the 2 gentlemen here in Batavia who are familiar with this house, in Rich Wagner and Fred Gravanda, who have won in their first matches, which, as we've talked about, doesn't happen very often here on this show. It takes a little while for people to get warmed up. At Beat the Champ TV, hashtag Beat the Champ, and like us on the Facebook page for all of the latest updates and information. We're headed to Jamestown in 2 weeks for a month worth of shows at the Jamestown Bowling Company. So the latest on that information can be found on the social media sites. And there's Paul Tatone with his first strike of the day. And we welcome back in Rick Mancuso, the owner here of the Mancuso Bowling Center. And he did a great job of giving us the scouting report there on Fred in the first match. And, you know, now he's going up against a young gun here a little bit, Rick. And does that make Fred change anything at all, or does he stick?
No, he's going to be very steady. He's going to stay within his game. He's got a great line. He's thrown really like 13 great balls in a row. And he's been 14 in a row. He's right in the pocket. I mean, he's honed in. You know, and I think you bring the point that local guys did well to start off in their first game, and it's not only knowing the lanes, it's also feeling comfortable here at home.
Sure.
You got a little hometown crowd. You know, you slept in your own bed this morning, you drove 15 minutes and came over here, you didn't come from out of town. So, I mean, I think that helps out a lot, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that a little bit, in particular when we've gone to Jamestown or we've come here to Batavia, a little bit outside the Western New York area, because we saw Matt White, who made that amazing run of 5 in a row from Jamestown, the guy from Erie, from down in Warren, Pennsylvania, who we had not seen on the show before, but he was able to do exactly the same things that Fred is doing here. So I think there is, you know, as we're a year into the history of this show, you start to see how some trends start to develop. And Sue and I talk a lot, Rick, about the first-time bowlers struggle because they're not used to the lights and the crowd and not used to us talking and everything. But the exception to that rule has been when we've gone a little bit outside the beaten path to places where guys are really comfortable. And you make a very good point. I think you summed it up really well.
Yeah, the nerves aren't there as early.
Right.
So they shake them a little bit quicker.
Sure.
And especially with both Fred and with Rich. I mean, they're 2 of the finer bowlers that have come out of the area. So, I mean, you've got quality guys there that have been in tough situations before. The lights aren't going to rattle them, and either it's not a big stage, that's for sure for them.
Right. So we're off to a great start in this match. Fred Gravanda with strikes on his first 3 throws to up his run to 10 in a row going back to the last match. And now Paul Tatone has struck twice in a row after an opening frame spare. So this one we could have a couple of big scores in this one. That might be our Christmas present to all of you bowling fans out there.
Ooh.
Wow.
And a hang up on the 10 pin there for Paul Tatone. Paul bowls regularly at the Cataract Bowl in Niagara Falls, Ontario, at the Fairview Bowl in St. Catharines, Ontario. Overall average a little bit over 200, about 210. 7 career 300 games for Paul, a 794 high series. He has been bowling for 18 of his 32 years. Spare in the 4th frame for Paul Tatone. So he is hanging in there. The only problem is Fred's doing nothing but striking out here.
Yeah, Fred still has that game face on. You can see how intense he is.
Does he never not have that game face on, Rick?
No, I would think he doesn't carry it home with him.
All right, now let's watch Fred. I'm not going to watch the pins. I'm just going to watch Fred.
The reaction.
And see the reaction and see if that tells me everything that I need to know.
Got some action there.
I was going to say, at first I would have thought he didn't get them all because he was hopping there and swinging the arm.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Good ball.
You know, I had one of my all-time great brushes with fame here in Batavia. You know, in my years when I used to cover all kinds of sports around Western New York. Once remember coming here to interview Ricky Williams, the football running back, when he was playing with the Muck Dogs right before he won the Heisman Trophy and then went off to an outstanding NFL career. And there's been a few other, Ryan Howard and Chase Utley, been a couple of other great Batavia Muck Dog baseball players.
Yeah.
You ever get any of those guys come over here and bowl a little bit?
Yeah. Look, we've got Ricky Williams' autograph hanging up in T.F. Brown's restaurant here.
There you go.
Got it when he came out here as a rookie, as you say. But one of the fastest guys I've ever seen in baseball, especially at that level.
As a big dude, too, 230 pounds.
He hit a grounder to just where the shortstop reached to the third base side, got the ball, and he still beat it out to first on a one hop. It was phenomenal, the speed he had.
Yeah, he was a fun player to watch. Maybe Bills fans didn't enjoy watching him run over them a few times with the Dolphins over the years.
Well, you know, his baseball career was just, he was trying to hold the NFL hostage a little bit.
Yeah.
So he did a good job of that.
Speaking of which, one of the great Batavia trivia questions is exactly about that. You know where I'm going with this?
No.
Holding the NFL hostage?
No.
John Elway's first professional home run was here in Batavia when he was playing baseball with the Yankees in their minor leagues while he was trying to put the leverage on the Baltimore Colts to not draft him, and eventually they would draft him and then traded him to the Denver Broncos.
And I do remember that.
So while we're talking about baseball and everything, we got some good bowling going on. You heard the crowd
I mean, we could talk about baseball and the history of baseball in Batavia forever.
It's a great
Pirates,
history.
Manny Sanguin, you know, you had all the greats play here. You know, Doc Ellis, they all came through here.
So it was a Pirates farm team for a long time.
When I was a kid growing up, it was the Pirates. They all came through.
And a lot of those guys wound up on those great We Are Family championship teams.
Yeah.
So after that dramatic first throw, Paul Tatone comes up with the spare here in the 9th frame. Or sorry, correct that, in the 8th frame. Well, and I know that's a big part of, you know, this is one of, if not the smallest city that has its own minor league baseball team anywhere in the country. And I know the status of the team has been a little bit hanging by a thread at times, but I know this is a community that supports the team very well.
Definitely, absolutely.
So you got a little back and forth going here. Neither of them can put the hammer down and throw the double. They're sort of shifting around here.
So Fred Gravanda heading to the 9th frame here.
Still with a 19-point lead.
But certainly that's a lead that is not rock solid yet. No more body English from Fred Gravanda. Gets the job done. A strike in the 9th frame for Fred. That's 2 in a row. There's the double that everybody's been searching for.
That's right. That puts him in a commanding position going into the 10th frame.
So we're going to need to see some strikes from Paul Tatone here to put the pressure on Fred Gravanda. There's a nice one of his nicest ones of the night.
He throws those pins around when he hits them, though.
It's a great ball. That was a terrific ball. He's got to keep answering here and hope that Fred opens the door somehow here in the next couple of.
Well, Fred only really needs a spare to close. No matter what happens, yeah.
So 10th frame now for Paul Tatone from St. Catharines, Ontario. Trying to become our first Canadian winner. Didn't get that pin to fly across and take out the 10. And that's a crucial moment in this match. So one more for Paul to post up his final score.
Fred's job is going to be to make sure he's lined up to take on George Szczublewski.
Yeah. He just wants to stay off the nose. Get a good count, something he can pick up relatively easy, and advance.
And you're right, he hasn't missed the pocket. This is two games of...
2 games of being right in the pocket.
Right in the pocket the whole time.
So here's the final throw for Paul. And a nice strike to end things off. And Paul Tatone, with a shake of the hands of Fred Gravanda, pops up the 197 on the board. So just good count here for Fred is going to get this done. And it'll be 2 in a row for Fred Gravanda. And as you mentioned, Sue, George Szczublewski next up for the winner. How about that for good count, huh?
Yeah, that should wrap this one up.
That's a competitor right there. He threw that like he needed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for having us here. It's been a wonderful run. We got another week coming. We're going to have the fun mixed doubles tournament.
Awesome.
We're going to have some fun with next week. We may pull you in for a little expert commentary on that one as well, too. But it's been a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for your insight. Merry Christmas to you.
Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you, too.
Merry Christmas somewhere. We're hiding behind all the stuff here, but we're having fun. It's Christmas weekend, and we're having a good time hanging out here. Rick, thank you very much for being a part of this. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you very much.
See you in a bit.
One more for Fred Gravanda to finish off another impressive performance here. He had a 247 in his first win over John Danielewicz, and he might get close to that number again here.
He can strike out for 246.
Talk about consistency, huh? All right, again, have fun here. Just watch. We're just going to watch Fred. We're not going to watch the pins. We'll get our answer. That one was subtle that time, but nonetheless effective. 246 to 197. The win for Fred Gravanda. That is 2 in a row for him. He's got one more match coming. We're going to be right back to the Mancuso Bowling Center here in Batavia with more Beat the Champ right after this. Well, Paul Tatone, you did Canada proud. You had a nice match here. You unfortunately ran into a buzzsaw right now. Fred Gravanda's throwing the ball pretty well. How do you feel like you did?
I felt like I threw the ball really well. I just couldn't carry on the left lane, and I missed one of my spares, so that won't help at all.
Right. Well, we're glad you decided to make the trip down here. Is this something you're going to keep trying to be a part of Beat the Champ?
Definitely, yep.
All right. Well, we'll see more of Paul Tatone, no doubt about it. Maybe he'll bring a few of the boys with him, and we'll have a real nice Canadian contingent moving forward. We got one more match here on this week's show. The red-hot Fred Gravanda will match up with George Szczublewski. That is next. It's Beat the Champ in Batavia, and we're back right after this.
Hi, am with George Szczublewski, making his 4th Beat the Champ appearance. And I'm assuming your parents are here with you today?
They are. My mom and dad are here.
All right, it's our Christmas show, so what would be your Christmas wish?
To win. To win would be nice.
To win would be nice. Well, we expect to see some great bowling out of you today, and we hope your Christmas wish comes true.
Thank you. We'll see.
Our final match of the day is Fred Gravanda trying to win 3 in a row, and his challenger is 51-year-old George Szczublewski. And we've seen George on the show before. This is his 3rd Beat the Champ appearance, and he will try to prevent Fred Gravanda from winning his 3rd consecutive match. So Fred was our first match of the day, a win over John Danielewicz, and then the nice win over Paul Tatone. And the model of consistency that is the veteran 66-year-old Fred Gravanda, can he keep it going here in Batavia? And he got good pin action there, Sue, but he did not get that messenger to fly over and take out the 10.
Well, from the angle that we're sitting, I can see just a little bit of a space. I think that in the alignment of the pins, if they're slightly off, you'll get this ring 10 effect. That's why sometimes you'll see bowlers take re-racks, because when the rack comes down for the second time, it sets them up in a little bit of a different spot. And I think the reason we've seen so many corner pins on 19 is a bit of a rack situation.
So you think that just a slight different adjustment in the alignment of the pins can be that difference in getting that ring 10 to take it out?
When you're looking straight at the pins, you don't want to see the 5 pin tucking out behind the 1 at all, but you don't want to see a big gap between the 1 and the 3 either.
Now, is that just something that happens over the years with the pin setters, or, you know, I mean, it's nobody's doing that on purpose, it just sort of happens that way?
Yeah, because the cup that holds the pin down won't set it down in the same spot. It's just where it can be adjusted, but oftentimes, bowlers will definitely look at the rack before they shoot at it and see if there's anything off.
That's the first time we've talked a little bit about that. Well, you got a spare in the first frame from George Szczublewski from West Seneca, maintenance supervisor, 51 years old, has been bowling for 25 of those years. We've seen George on the show before, as I mentioned, a 2-win and 2-loss record on Beat the Champ, with this being his 3rd show appearance. And there's his first strike of this match. So we had a first match that featured a 58-year-old and a 66-year-old, and then we went all young gun with 32-year-old Paul Tatone, and now we're back to the grizzled veterans here, the 51-year-old Szczublewski and Fred Gravanda at 66. And it's not all about the young guys who throw real hard, and that's what Fred is showing us here.
Nope, doesn't matter. This is a game of accuracy.
And there's a strike for Fred Gravanda. Now the challenge for Fred is going to be, should he win this match, he will advance on in 2 weeks to our next trip down to Jamestown. And one of the things that I think has helped Fred, as you get an early look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep scoreboard manned by Janelle Sabin, one of the things that helped Fred is his knowledge of this house. Spent a lot of years bowling here in Batavia, so that'll be interesting to see if we get to that point. Does Fred's game travel down to a place like Jamestown?
Well, and you have to take the travel into effect as well. And there is something to be sitting in the car for an hour and a half to drive somewhere and then get up and perform. So the distance will make a difference too, if he stays there, if he drives from here.
So that's a double for Fred in frames 2 and 3. And now we move back to George, who bowls on Monday night at Classic Lanes, and Wednesday at Spare Time with the Sports Shot, Fridays at Wimbledon Lanes, and Saturdays in the Travel League. And he strikes in 2 and 3 as well too.
Again, they have a different game, different ball speed, different amount of hand, but they're also playing the same area of the lane.
George was part of the group, including Pat Brick, that weren't even going to come down here. They were going to go bowl a tournament in Erie, Pennsylvania over qualifying weekend, and the weather was bad down there in Erie, so they said, well, let's just go to Batavia instead, and all 3 guys wind up qualifying for Beat the Champ this month. Nice strike for Szczublewski. 3 in a row for George. starting to put the heat on Fred Gravanda, as neither of the first two guys have. So, or they did, but not quite to this level. So Fred's got 2 in a row himself from right here in Batavia. Fred's retired, so we'll have plenty of time to get ready for Jamestown if that's where he's going to wind up if he wins this match. He bowls in the Wednesday Night League at Transit Lanes, and then bowls on Monday at the Clarence Bowling Academy. And a little disappointing there for Fred as he leaves that pin, the 4-pin.
That's another really fun league there at the Clarence Bowling Academy. Good bowlers, nice small atmosphere, and that would sort of lead us to, you mentioned going to a different house and having to adjust and not having that comfort level, but Fred gets out and bowls in other houses, so he has learned to make, adjustments based on what he sees.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
All right, Mike, what do you want for Christmas this year?
Well, a bonus would be nice, but, I'm just thankful for everything and that I have a job and everything's going well.
All right, guys, what do you want for Christmas this year?
I want a racetrack.
A racetrack? Ooh, what do you want, Connor?
A blue convertible and hockey stuff.
Ooh. What about you? What do you want for Christmas? A what?
I don't bowl was today.
You did bowl today, but what do you want for Christmas?
I need Christmas tree tonight.
Oh, a Christmas tree?
Yes.
Ooh, awesome. Nice.
You get different mixes of different bowlers and personalities, and some guys, some of the consistent guys, you wouldn't know if they got 1 pin or 10 pins based on their reaction. Not so with Fred. You know exactly whether it's 1 or 10. Nice smooth stroke for George, but again, that sticky 10 pin over on, this time on lane 20, won't go down.
I think it really gives the viewer an idea of the credibility of these bowlers when you see the intensity they come here and they compete at. Like Chuck Jagodzinski was really angry with himself for that match going the way that it did. I mean, these guys really do come here to compete and to win, and I think it really makes for a great show.
Yeah, and I think that's what's made the level of bowling on this show so high right from the very beginning. I mean, Beat the Champ has attracted the best bowlers in Western New York, and these guys are not out here to do anything but win. It's pride. There's money on the line, but it's mostly pride. And if you want to be the best in a town where there's a lot of really good bowlers, you want to keep adding stuff to your resume.
We really don't talk a lot about a prize fund or there being money, but the bowling proprietors have put in over $40,000 that's been paid out to the bowlers through the course of this first year, and it's really proven to be a very successful endeavor for the bowling proprietors, which is why we'll be back again next year.
Absolutely. We are back for a second year, and that starts in January down in Jamestown.
Wow.
And again, body language tells you all you need to know about Fred not being able to get that sticky 10 to go down. Yes, we're excited to be back for a second season. We thank everybody, including all the bowling fans of Western New York who have supported and watched this show. It would not have happened without your support, and the bowlers who continue to try to qualify to make the show, and of course the bowling proprietors who have been behind the show and have supported it. Everybody at WBBZ thanks them for all their support. We are excited to be back for season number 2, and maybe even some changes. Some things are being kicked around. We're not ready to unveil any of those yet, but maybe some alterations and some new ideas will come into play.
Well, we've done a little bit already with, we're happy to have Janelle up with us for the closing and the opening. And
that's what all the bowlers say. More Janelle would be better for the show.
Well, we give them what they want.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, the Facebook page, and for people to go for information and to read comments and also to give comments.
Sure.
And, WBBZ does listen, and just want to make the show as good as we possibly can.
So you'll have to stay tuned into the Facebook page and our social media outlets, and if there's going to be any changes, we'll let everybody know. But there's some things being kicked around. So it's a strike in the 9th frame for George Szczublewski, and boy, these guys are battling each other hard here. Who wants to be the last Beat the Champ winner for 2016? The final trophy of the year is going to be dished out in a couple of minutes. Who's it going to be? Maybe we'll even get a bigger trophy for 2017, huh? Although if it gets any bigger, I don't know if you're going to be able to hold it up anymore.
That is going to seal the deal there for George Szczublewski.
And you saw a little reaction from George too. So
a little hand slap I talked about.
A little hand slap, and
that was because he won.
That was because he knew that was what clinched it.
That wasn't to be intimidating. That was to clinch it.
Yeah, we got a couple more spots to fill in on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, but the winning score is going to get filled in under George. And a great way to finish it out for George Szczublewski. Trying to punch his way out to 5 straight strikes to wrap this one up. Nice little Christmas Eve present for George and the family.
That's right. Great bowling by Fred, though. We can't say enough about the great shots that he made.
And there you go, 5 in a row to wrap it up for George Szczublewski with an impressive 258. I think that's our highest score from so far here in Batavia, and it is a 258. And Fred Gravanda, who had 247s and 246, is going to put a pretty good score on the board himself, but it just won't be enough. And like, I'm with you, Fred was a lot of fun to watch. Different style, different approach.
But absolutely accurate. He really did not miss the pocket for 3 straight games.
So a couple of more here for Fred to post up his final score, and then we'll get a chance to talk to both guys, both George and Fred, and let them wrap up this match, and in Fred's case, wrap up a very nice 2-match winning streak here at the Mancuso Bowling Center. Oh, and a little groan from the crowd as Fred could not get that 4-pin to go down.
Actually, that's an 8-pin another time.
Oh, you're right,
We've
it
seen
is.
a lot of 8s and 9s here at Mancuso's this month in Batavia.
So one more here to nail that 8-pin down. Fred gets it, and Fred's final score goes up on the board as well, and it's a 215, but it's a win at 258 to 215 for George Szczublewski. And we'll talk to both guys and wrap up this show when Sue and I return here to Batavia. You're watching Beat the Champ. Great match to wrap up our week here in Batavia. Terrific match between George Szczublewski and Fred Gravanda. Fred, 2 nice wins for you. You were one of the most consistent bowlers we've seen before. You ran into a guy who got hot here, but how happy are you with the performance here?
I'm very pleased with the outcome. I knew George was going to be a tough match. He's a great bowler.
And he bowled really well, and so did you. And I hope this wasn't just a Batavia thing for you. I hope we get to see a little more out of him.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we know we're going to see a little more out of him in Jamestown next week.
Right. Well, we've had great performances here, and only one of you could get your Christmas wish, and I'm happy to say that it's you.
I did.
So I'm going to present you with your trophy. And this reindeer doesn't want to come off.
The Christmas version of the trophy.
That's the Christmas version of the trophy. But great bowling today, honestly. There was a few adjustments that needed to be made. I saw to get that 10-pin out. And did you change something in order to do that?
Yeah, I went to a weaker ball. I went to my high road, and it seemed to carry well. So from the few shots I had in practice. So
yeah, that was a challenge up there.
You know, it was the carry. Fred threw some great shots and bowled great. So and he didn't carry, and I did. So, wasn't a matter of hitting the pocket. It was, like I said, carrying. So, fun match.
And speaking of which, it will be carry on for George Szczublewski, because we're going to get to see him in 2 weeks when he will come back to defend that trophy when we move things on to Jamestown. Sue and I will preview our next week's show and our next stop down in the Southern Tier. When we return, you're watching Beat the Champ here on WBBZ-TV. Well, we're all in the Christmas spirit here, and we want to make sure that we wish all of you, everyone in Western New York, the bowling community, and all of our Beat the Champ fans a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This has been a very fun year being involved in this show.
Yes, it's been an absolutely great experience being with you and being with Janelle and watching all of this great bowling, getting an opportunity to talk about a sport that I really love. It's just been wonderful, and thanks to support from the public for it. Looking forward to another great year.
Yeah, we've got one more show here in Batavia, and then we get started on the 2017 season, so we'll see you next week. I'm good at talking, she's good at bowling, you're good at singing, so we're going to let you say goodbye to everybody with a Merry Christmas wish.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, your troubles will be miles away.